Hello everyone, welcome to MyOnlineEdu.com's video tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll learn how to write a Node.js program for Docker. Okay, so you have a Node.js program, just imagine, and you want to Dockerize it. So, but you don't have any idea of what Docker is. So this video will first help you to understand what Docker is, and then it will show you how you can actually Dockerize your program. In this tutorial, I'll use Node.js as a programming language, but I will have other videos which will show some other languages like PHP. So please check the description for the details. Also, I'll upload the code in a blog whose URL or whose link will be given in the description of this video. So guys, let's start. So see, this is our index.js file that we have, and this is our package.json file. So only we are using Express as a dependency. And guys, over here in the scripts, we have a start, which is node index.js. Okay, so this is the start script, which says that run node index.js. This is important for Dockerization, but I'll come it to later when I'll explain the things for Docker. But this is just for a local application that you are building. So it's very simple. You just listening to port 8080, and if there is a get of slash, means is a base route, then this will be printed, and if it is slash help, then this will be printed. So it's pretty simple. Node.js, coding Node.js. So now if you say node index.js, run the program. So my program has started. As you can see, it's listening on port 8080. Now we can test it. Now if I run localhost colon 8080 accessing the port, so it will give me the output that is coming from this one. Okay, and if you run localhost 8080 slash help, then it will say me you are accessing the help path. So far so good. We have a Node.js program which is running fine and which prints the hello world. Now let's come to our actual topic of how you can actually Dockerize this particular program. So before going into the technical details, let's start digging into the Docker piece by piece. Just before starting what Docker is, just imagine that you have a program, Node.js program, which is called appx, which runs on Node server, which is version 8. Remember this, and you have a MySQL database associated with this particular application whose version is 4.1, and it has the libraries as well as the npm packages. And you have one more program, okay, so it is called appy, which is the kind of the latest node using the latest node server version 13 and MySQL version 5.7, libraries and some npm packages. Now you can see this program is very old, written in a in node version 8, and this is almost the current node version. Now if I give you these two programs to run into your machine, okay, which node server version will you install? Of course you will be installing version 13 because that is the higher. But see, when you run this program application X into your machine with node server 13, it may not run because there may be some deprecated facilities over here. And also, which MySQL version will you use? Because both are using MySQL. So of course you will be installing MySQL version 5.7. But some features of MySQL may not work because this is very old. And if this program appx is actually using some deprecated features, so which may not use in the later upgraded version. So this is a common problem, as you can understand. So Docker comes here very helpful. So Dockerization also doesn't mean that this is the only benefit that you get. You get many other benefits, but from a developer's perspective, if you think, so this is one of the problem that Docker solves. How come? The question is how come? I'll explain that to you now. Okay guys, before explaining Docker, let's take a look a simple example of our real life things. Like you love travel, you go for traveling, you go to various places, like you go to mountaineers, you go to deserts, you go to forest, you love travel, and it may be a cold place, it may be a hot place, it may be a rainy place, correct? So before going to travel, you prepare a checklist, and then you buy the items, and then you pack it inside a box, suitcase or bag, things like that, and then you travel. But how, think about this, how good it will be if you just tell me that, hey, I am going to travel to a colder place, very cold place, and I give you a suitcase which has all the things that is needed in a cold place. You don't have to worry about anything, correct? And if you tell me, hey, I am carrying my children with me, or then, inside that suitcase, I'll put all the baby stuffs, all the children's stuffs inside it, right? Their diapers, their baby foods. How good it will be that if I hand over a full bag, full luggage of things before you travel. You don't have to worry, right? You don't have to go for shopping. You don't have to think about anything. You just take the bag and you just fly away. So here is the thing, that think these things as a containers. So each container will be having different things inside it, and based on your requirement, you take one bag, you take one container, and then you fly. Similarly, Docker will help you in programming world, the similar kind of situation. Now you can ask how Docker will help me. So Docker, basically has three things. Basically, this is the very basic things. One is, after you write your program, you need a Docker file which you can compare as a checklist on your travel example. Then you have the Docker images, and then you have the containers. So Docker images are nothing but you can think of that, it's an image of the things that you need before travel. Similarly, Docker image is the thing that are needed to run that application in programming world. And container is when you are actually running it, that becomes a container. So there are three steps. Once you create the Docker file, then you build it, then you run it. So once you build the Docker file, it becomes a Docker image. And then once you run the Docker image, it becomes a Docker container. So what I will give you is a Docker image. And then you will be running this Docker image as a Docker container. So no matter, what environment, what laptop configuration, what server configuration you are having, this image, if this image is running in my computer as a Docker container, it will of course run any computer which has Docker installed. Okay, now let's go back to our earlier problem. Now here, think about this as a container. So this is my container 1 and this is my container 2. Okay, and if I give you this particular Docker image and you run, so this container will be running, and where in this container it will be having all the dependencies that it has. It will be having the Node Server 8, MySQL version 4.1, libraries, npm packages, and then it can run, as it is. And this one also, a second container, I'll give you for program app Y, and then, you can run the Node Server version 13, 5.7 inside it, libraries and npm packages. So this is how the Docker helps us to run any application. So in my machine, I don't have to install any Node server, any MySQL or any libraries or any npm packages. What I need to run is take the Docker image and then run it. That's it. It's that simple as it is. Okay guys, so this is one of the architecture of Docker, and normally if you see that you need to run your multiple programs earlier in the virtual machine environment. uh, on top of the infrastructure you have the host operating system, which is normally a Windows or a Linux based system, and then you have a hypervisor which helps you to make it the virtual machines, and then on top of that you have the virtual machines. So these are all the VMs. So this is your VM1 and this is your VM2. So what is the problem in this architecture is this is very resource heavy, in the sense that you need lots of hardware, like your CPU, your RAM needs to be shared with this virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2, and also these virtual machine images are very heavy in size. It's in GBs. But what Docker helps us to reduce all this problem in the virtual machines architecture is, on top of the infrastructure we have the host operating system, and then we install the Docker container, and then these are all little containers. That's it. So these are all little containers, and these containers are not resource heavy. It doesn't need many hardware resources. Whatever the hardware resources that you have, it's good enough. And also the sizes of these images are very less compared to virtual machines. Now this is an example of different container. So you can see inside this container, I have some Java program. Inside this container I may have some PHP MySQL application, and in this container I may have something like operating system with Node.js and MySQL application too. So if I give you these containers, you don't need to install any Node.js server or PHP Apache server, MySQL server. You don't need to, because that image itself has everything inside it. So just remember one thing, that this think about these containers as very mini version of a computer, which will be having a operating system, and then the required servers that need to run the program, and then the packages, then the libraries. That's it, and maybe the database. Okay. So think about this, in that way. I'll show you how these containers, what I'm trying to say is that this is a very mini version of a computer without any hardware. Okay, just remember this thing. When I'll demo you, then you will be able to understand it. So now let's get back to our original hello world program. Okay guys, now I'm going to show you that I'm using Node version 10, let's say. Okay, so I have 10 version 10. Fine. So if I run this program, if this hello world program, it may not work into your machine if you have lower version of Node.js, or maybe a higher version of Node.js. Correct? Maybe some of the features are not there in the lower version, or some of the features are deprecated in the higher version. It can happen. But in Docker world, this problem will be gone. So let's try to then Dockerize our own application. Okay. Okay, now let's take a look at the Docker file first, because you remember that Docker file is the first thing that we need to write after we finish our programming. So here we are actually starting from node 10 stretch slim. What this means is, this is an image already been created by the Node.js team. It's a standard Docker image, and this is the version 10, the slim version, stretch slim version I'll be using. Okay, so this is where I'm starting, and where this image is stored, there is a hub.docker.com. So that is the Docker hub. So there is a publicly available images are there. Similarly, there will be some private registry where you can store your images, so public will not be able to access those images. But these are the public images. Even you can also just get the Docker image and run it as a container. So after starting from the node image, I'm making the working directory as a, this is my working directory, and then copying the package.json. Then I'm running the npm install. Then I'm copying, dot means all the files over here will be copied there. And also I have a docker ignore file. So I'm excluding the node modules and the miscellaneous folder, and then I am exposing 8080, and then I'm writing the command npm start. So npm start, what it will do is it will come to this package.json file and it will run the script that is there in the as a start command. So node.index.js will be started. So internally it will fire the node command will internally fire the index.js file. Once I have written this Docker file in a text file, I need to build the image. So to build the image, this is the command you have to use, the docker build dot. Dot means the location of the Docker file. Since I am into that particular location, I can put dot over here, and then hyphen t, and then the name of the Docker image. So this is my Docker hub repository name, and this is the Docker image name. Press enter, and okay, so you can see that it ran all the steps one by one, okay, and then created the image. Now how you can see the Docker images? Sudo docker images is the command. If you run, you'll find that your image, which is the hello world image, has been created here. All right, and also if you see here the node, the node version 10 stretch slim is also pulled from the Docker hub, and on top of that our image is created, and you see what is the size of it. It's just 168 MB. So now we have built our Docker image. Now we have to run it. So to run a Docker image, we need to docker run command we have to use. Hyphen D is in the detached mode, and hyphen P is the port. Okay, so here we are using the port. The container port will be 8080, and this is the port that I'll be exposing in the container in the Docker. So this is my application port, and this is my container port, and then the name of the container will be this, and this is my Docker image. So if this Docker image does not exist into my local Docker machine, then it will pull from the Docker hub. But since it is existing in my local machine, it will not pull it. Okay, but when you run the same command, it will first pull it and then it will create the container. So let's run it. So what does it means is, if you run this command sudo docker ps, it will give you the list of containers that is running. Now you see here that this image is been run as a name MOE hello world app on port 8080. Now to test it, let's go to our again. How do we know that it's working? So it's 8080, it's working fine. And if I go to help, see again this is working fine, right? So now these are coming from Docker. Now how do I know that it's coming from Docker? So let's take an example. Now let's remove the Docker image, the Docker container first, not the Docker image, the Docker container. So sudo docker rmf, then you need to give the container ID. So it will remove the container. So now if you run the docker ps, you see nothing is running. Now what I'll do, I'll run the docker this command again, but this time maybe I'll be running it at 8085. Now if I come back here as a port 8085, see it's working, right? So you can see that it's working as a Docker container. Now I need to push this image to the Docker hub so that anybody in this world can use it. So to push the image into my Docker hub, so this is the command, the docker push, and the image name that I have to use. And one thing that you have to be sure that you are using your correct Docker hub repository name. If I do this, now it is pushing into the Docker hub. Okay guys, it is pushed. Now how you can check Now go to hub.docker.com. There just search with my name. Here you see this is the image that has been created, right? That we have. You see here it's updated few seconds ago. So our new image has been updated. Okay, and of course, I haven't mentioned any tag to this image, so that is why the latest will be available. Now what you can do is you can just run this command into your docker system, docker pull this image name, okay, and then you just run it. The run command, as I have shown you, this is the run command that you can use it, and then this application will be running into your machine. See how easy it is that you don't have to install any node application or any dependencies. What you just need to do is install Docker, which I have also a video in my channel which you can watch, that how to install Docker, and then you can actually run any programming. It can be Python, it can be PHP, it can be, the program is built on .NET, it can be built on, Python, it can be built on PHP. So Node.js, Ruby, anything. You don't need to install any software except Docker. You just pull the image, run it as a container, your application is running. So you don't have to think about, oh, what version of Node.js this guy has, what version of MySQL this guy has, what are the dependencies that this guy has in his programming language, in this application. You don't have to, look into that. Okay, so remember one thing that I told you earlier, that these containers are nothing but a mini version of a computer which has a very small OS, and then on top of that it has all the dependencies. Like here it will be the node server, then our programming paths, programming languages, right? Now I'll show you that particular case. So now by these examples, you have learned many Docker command also, like how to build, how to see the images, how to see the containers running, and then how to remove or delete a container, right? So now this is one more command that I am going to show you. Okay, so the command is docker execution command. So this executes, okay, this particular container name. So this is the name of my container. I have given it here, and then is a bash command. So as I have told you that think about this, that every container is a computer. So what I am going to do is I am logging into that computer with a bash command. So if I do it, you see here, I am into that container, and what is my container name? You see here, this is the name, right, that you have seen there. So this is my machine name, you can see, correct? So as I told you that this is a mini version of a computer, and what directory I am using here, the user source app. What is this? This is the user directory, that is the Docker file. So this is my working directory that I have created, right? So now if I give a ls command, you see all my applications are here. I mean all my files are here, remember? And then if I do a cat index.js, you see this is my code that was running there. Okay, now what is the version of Node over here? You see it's version 10.21. But what is the version of Node in my machine, my local machine? It's 10.16. So as you can see, that this particular image contains the version 10.21. So now you have understood that what a container is, and each container will be having a very small OS. On top of that, the required things. Here in this case, it is the node server, then our node programs, then the npm dependencies, and then finally a port will be exposed from the container to the outer world to access it. Okay, I hope this tutorial was helpful for you to understand what Docker is. In terms of, I've tried my best to make it understandable for you on a programmer's perspective. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please click on the like button or subscribe to our channel to get such educational videos and help us to grow. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching.